Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs had their first close scrimmage of the spring this past weekend, and of course, Dog Post has some inside scoop from inside sources who were at the scrimmage. Some were there, some weren't, but this video is all about the inside notes that we gathered, who did really well, what the quarterbacks did, some up-and-coming players who performed well in the scrimmage. That's what this video is all about. So, of course, I have to start with the quarterbacks, and one close source connected to the program had a lot to say about the quarterbacks and broke it down with us. I just want to start off saying Brock Vandagriff, we were told, threw 3 touchdowns during the scrimmage this past weekend. 1 touchdown with the 1s, another touchdown with the 2s, and another touchdown with the 3s, and had some situational drives with the first team. So I know there were some reports that Stetson Bennett took 90% of the first team reps, and I'm not sure that is accurate at all whatsoever, because we were told multiple quarterbacks got some reps with the 1s. No other quarterback threw more than 1 touchdown. Brock Vandagriff had 3. Carson Beck's first drive was really good. He had a good throw to Dom Blaylock down to about the 8, and that was with the number 2 unit. Stetson took the first 2 drives with the 1s. Carson Beck took first 2 drives with the 2s. Brock Vandagriff took first drive with the 3s and scored. From there, Beck and Brock each took reps with the 1s and the 2s. Gunnar Stockton apparently looked like Brock Vandagriff last year. Extremely talented, but his head was spinning a little bit. And coming from Rabun County, smaller school, smaller program, that is easy to understand. So apparently the quarterbacks did well. There were a few plays that resulted in big plays for all 3 quarterbacks, but there was a penalty that negated them. There was only 1 pick. Brock Vandagriff threw a ball that bounced off of Jackson Meek's hands that led to an interception. It was on a 15-yard dig during the 3rd down portion of the drill. Stetson Bennett had a nice scramble or 2 on the day. Carson Beck had 1 run for about 5 to 8 yards. Brock Vandagriff did not have any runs or scrambles that this source saw during the day. Carson Beck and Stetson Bennett both took 2 to 3 sacks, I was told, and this source did not see Brock Vandagriff take one, but he could have missed one, he did say after. So those were the notes on the quarterbacks. As far as everyone else, this source said that A.D. Mitchell, one of the big freshman standouts from last fall, caught the big touchdown against Alabama, caught another touchdown against Michigan, a guy who Georgia is going to be rely upon heavily this past year. He had about 3 to 4 drops is what I was told. So not the best scrimmage for possibly Georgia's number 1 receiver. He said Avery Gilbert looked huge. If you've been watching these videos, you know all about that. He's a big dude. He's probably about 260 right now. Working with the tight ends, of course, Brock Bowers is out for the spring. Darnell Washington out for the spring. So Avery Gilbert had a really nice day, I was told. 1 big touchdown. And of course, Oscar Delp, the incoming freshman from the 22 class, also had multiple receptions, and he did have 1 drop from what I was told. So overall, expect to see more of the tight ends continue to be used like that throughout the spring, and they should have a big year in the fall. There's no doubt about it. Easily the most talented tight end room in the entire country. Some reported a couple other TD passes, but they could have been called back due to penalties. Mentioned that, I think, already. He said number 2 and number 6 looked good. Kendall Milton, Kenny McIntosh both looked great. Kyrus Jackson and Ladd McConkey both looked great. Arian Smith, he said number 11 looked frustrated as he was not able to get the ball as much as he thought. He also said it does not appear that they are pushing Stead as much. They are trying to get the next guy ready, as Brock took situational reps with the number 1. So they know what they have in Stetson Bennett, and it's easy to understand why they're trying to give Carson Beck some reps with the 1s and Brock Vandagriff reps with the 1s. This is Brock's 2nd year, former 5-star guy. They still want to see what he brings to the table and how much he's progressed over the past few years. So that was notes from one particular source. Another source said, I did hear that Kendall Milton ran over safety for a 65-yard touchdown off a swing pass and caught another 10-yard touchdown pass. I also heard that Kenny McIntosh had about a 50-yard touchdown run as well. This source also said that Dominic Blaylock and Avery Gilbert looked good. So everyone I spoke with thought that Avery Gilbert was the man and appears to be looking like the 5-star that he was. And, of course, Dom Blaylock, one of the big keys to the scrimmage, one of the guys who had one of the best scrimmages. If he's healthy, like I've said before, it is going to be really tough to keep him off the field, and I think he could be the X factor for Georgia's offense, especially in that receiver room. So I was told Marcus Rosemary, Jack Saint had a nice day. Again, multiple people told me that Don Blaylock had a nice game as well. Let's go to another source who sent me. The offensive line looked really well. Cedric Van Pran looked really good. Keely Ringo had a big hit on one of the running backs. And again, this source said Kendall Milton looked good. Don Blaylock looked good. When I reach out to guys, I'm asking, who impressed? Who looked good? Who's a guy who could take that next step this spring? Who is getting passes thrown their way on defense? Who is making the stops? Who is getting after it? So there are a lot of guys, but offensively, the two running backs stood out. The offensive line held up. But Don Blaylock, Avery Gilbert are two guys that multiple people continue to talk highly about. Keely Ringo defensively is another guy I keep hearing about. So Jamon Dumas-Johnson, the guy roaming the middle of the field for Georgia's defense now, probably the replacement for Nakobe Dean. I continue to hear good things about him this spring. But right now, they just got to get healthy. There's so many guys missing in the spring. Of course, a few of the tight ends. Small Munden, a five-star linebacker, is dealing with some injuries. Tyke Smith, a guy who's still getting back. He was the transfer from West Virginia last year. If he's healthy, I think he's going to be starting in probably that star position, that extra defensive back. But overall, it seemed like the quarterbacks had a pretty good day. The running backs did too. So these are not all the notes that we have. Of course, it takes a couple days to hear from everyone that we want to hear. We didn't just throw out notes immediately within a couple of hours after the scrimmage starts. So we're continuing to hear how the scrimmage went from inside sources. Some of them were not there, but some of them were there in attendance and gave us a lot to talk about. So overall, solid scrimmage. Again, continue to expect the quarterbacks to start getting reps with the ones. I don't believe any of them are going to overtake Stetson Bennett, but if something happens, he goes down or just isn't playing the type of ball that he did last year, it's important that Carson Beck and Brock Vandegrift get some reps with those ones. So if they, they can take over if they need to. So overall, I thought it was, heard it was a pretty solid day in Athens. And we, of course, have more notes over on Dog Post, so make sure you go check those out, guys. Thanks for watching this video. As always, stay tuned to the next one coming up right now, and I will see you over on the website.